Okay, we're live.
Live. I didn't know Twitter had the camera as well.
Yeah, it's streaming on all of them.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess we can wait like a few minutes for the other people to join, then we can start.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely fine. We can just give it some time. As usual, what we do, wait for maximum 59 seconds to allow other people to join the live session, and then we get started. Hi, Florian, Andre, how you guys doing?
Hi. Very good, thanks.
Pretty well, pretty well. Prepare for a
Yeah,
new live discussion with our community.
yeah, another exciting session, another session to go into details and talk about all the amazing things that we are doing at Open Fabric and that of Deep Square.
Very pleased to be here, guys.
Yeah. Glad to have you in our community.
So usually what we do, we allow our audience, please drop up your flare, tell us where you're joining us from, and let's connect. Let's build a global community together.
Hi, fabricators. That's how the community calls themselves, right? Fabricators?
Fabricators.
Cool, mate. Awesome.
Good. We have like 20 seconds to go, and we get started. We are Poland in the house. Okay. Okay, guys, let's make this happen. So those of you who just joined us and our favorite people that always join our live session, we want to say welcome back to another amazing AMA session. And this time around, we have our people from Deep Square. We had a partnership with them, and we want to discuss more about what does this partnership means and what benefit it brings to both ecosystem. And we are going to allow our speakers to introduce themselves and give a little bit background about themselves and what they're doing, starting with our very own guest from Deep Square, Florian. Let's go into it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. So, hi guys, very pleased to be here. So, I'm Florin. I'm head of product now at Deep Square. I was leading the blockchain development initially at Deep Square, and I'm actually trained as a computer scientist and also then later as a biocomputing expert. So, I was starting to use a lot of data, and I really understood very early that data will really change the way we live and the way things are happening, and that's actually what brought me then into this space. Then I also did a PhD into exoskeleton control, where we were using simulation, so again, data simulation, and then using that to actually do something very effective in the real world that has an impact with people. So I was really seeing this connection between data, AI, and then the real world. And that's what brought me here.
Good. I'm certain that this is going to be a more insightful conversation for our guys within our ecosystem, especially data scientists in our space, in that of your space. They're going to benefit a lot from today's conversation. Let's go to you, Andre.
So I guess the people from our community already know me from past session, and but in a nutshell, I'm the CEO founder of Open Fabric. As Flori, my background is also in computer science engineering. So as you know, we're building a new way for people to make use of artificial intelligence by leveraging the power of decentralization. So, I guess you're already familiar with the things we're doing. So let's move to our conversation.
Yeah, we are definitely familiar. So, usually what we do, we just try to make our audience aware how this session is going to be like. It's going to be divided into two segments. That we have from our community and that of the community of Deep Square to fill in. We're going to ask the question to our speakers, and the last segment we're going to be taking questions from the audience. So if you have any burning questions or issue or concern, please make sure you leave it in the comment section, and our backstage team will bring it up to us so we can get started. So we'll start with you, Florian. What unique features or advantages does D-Square offer as the next generation of cloud computing compared to existing platform in the market?
Yeah. So first, maybe the first thing to say is that what we focus on with DeepSquare is supercomputers. So we want to create a decentralized big supercomputer. We see ourselves more like just on top of infrastructure providers by adding an abstraction layer which facilitates people that are building and launching compute object, let's say, that require a lot of compute capabilities. So it's then it depends to whom you compare us with, but generally we are a decentralized cloud infrastructure. So we want to be the backbone of platforms like Open Fabric, at least to help them leverage our infrastructure to run. Obviously, it's not something which is how to say unique, right? Like, for example, Open Fabric can use many different type of cloud infrastructure, but what we try to provide is something which is really ready and designed for AI. And then the differentiator we have also with other projects is that it's really on the standardization of the compute power measurement. So what we try to do at DeepSquare is to ensure that when you require a specific set of hardware for a specific task that you want to launch or a specific software you want to launch, then we want to ensure that this is actually what you will get. So if you need an 800 with this amount, that's what you want to get. And that's what our specificity is there. It's not on the provability of the compute that is happening, but it's on the measurement of the allocated compute power. And then clearly we have this blockchain-based approach that gives also transparency.
I think that's one of the major issues in the blockchain space. As we had a last EMA session, and one of the concerns that really pushed a lot of people was the transparency within the blockchain space. People want to know how transparent the company, and the fact they mentioned that. We're going more into details in this session. We'll go into the next question. This is for you, Andre. How does Open Fabric empower individuals and businesses to build, scale, and monetize AI applications?
So right now, one of the biggest challenge and major friction point when it's about building AI application and AI models, it's about that people don't have access to the technical infrastructure, like as the supercomputer that Florian is building. So because there's a high technical barrier to enter, people have to be expert in cloud computing, they have to be expert in infrastructure, they have to be expert on how all these things are working, and finding those people possessing the knowledge in all these things, it's very hard. So what we're doing with Open Fabric, we abstract all these technical details and make the access and deployment and building of AI application more simple, more accessible to say to builders. So people who are good at building AI application, they just can focus on that without bothering their mind with all the underlying details and everything.
Well, that's a very good response. Sorry, I have to change my location. I was getting some background noise, so I'm setting up the lighting. So this is for you, Florian. Sorry, in a co-working space. So, Florian, Andrew just mentioned about how our marketplace can allow individuals to build and scale the businesses across different platforms, which is very unique. And you mentioned about transparency within the blockchain space. Initially, I talked about this is one of the major concerns that we have within the blockchain space. So let's go back to this. In what ways do you see DeepSquare and Open Fabric AI transforming the future of AI and cloud computing industries? What potential impact do you foresee on businesses and society as a whole? We'll start with you, Florian.
Mm-hmm. So I think the potential outcome are really gigantic, because one thing we need to understand is that what's happening, for me at least, that's my feeling, is that we have an industrial revolution which is ongoing. And to create an industrial revolution, you need to have access to all the different bits and pieces, and they don't need to be controlled by single entities. When you want to turn on light at your place, you don't need to pay somebody to have a cable. You just pay for the cable, yes, because there is a cable, but you don't need to pay somebody because you are using a cable. So we need really to work hard in order to allow all the countries of the world to be able to leverage those technologies. It for me doesn't make any sense that some people in Europe, in Africa, in Asia has to go through centralized services in US to do something. This is a nonsense, and we have to come up with some new ways of building things that allows us to basically break those barriers and then allow to really make AI change our life. Because the thing is that when you have a technological innovation like this, if you don't do it well, then all the value will go to one or a small group of people. And we need to work hard in order to make this profitable for the most, So I think that's really what we are trying to do here together.
I mean, that's a very good point from your side. But again, this is two community coming together. You mentioned some of the most important things that you just talked about. That would be a benefit within your ecosystem across the world. Let's see from open Andrew, how does this relate to Open Fabric AI? Andrew, you can take the question.
So as Florian mentioned, right now we see this infrastructure layer who are like centralized, like you say, you have those data centers in US or whatever. And when you want to build something, you have to leverage those infrastructure, those data center. Of course, this is good in a way because, having bigger data center, you can make them cheaper. But at the same time, these are like, they're creating silos. So for instance, if somebody is like developing an application utilizing, let's say, Amazon or Microsoft, whatever big provider, they will be stuck on that. So once you develop like your AI application or whatever you're doing, utilizing that stack, you're virtually, you're bound to that. So for you, in order to migrate to another, infrastructure or to migrate to another service, it's becoming virtually impossible. So I guess as Florian mentioned, it makes more sense to create like a decentralized infrastructure, which is operated by a protocol. So in a way, this is what Open Fabric creates. It provides a protocol which runs on top of many infrastructure provider, but for the people building on top of it, or the user utilizing the end services or application built on top of Open Fabric, everything is like it provides a unique point of view, like a unique interface. So you don't care too much about the underlying details, like the specifics of the hardware infrastructure of the vendor who's providing that computational power. And I guess this is something very important because, as in the case of like in the internet, when the internet was built, it looks pretty much similar with what's happening right in Web3. So there's a lot of people competing to provide their own solution, but at the end of the day, we ended up have like a unified protocol which is operating on top of many different and diverse providers. But the way it's used by the people, the way that consumer utilize the technology, it's in a simple way. It's like a car. You have the same control. It doesn't matter what car you're driving. It doesn't matter how powerful the underlying engine or what are the technical innovation. The interface for you as a user is the same. You have the wheel, you have the the gearing box and all of that. So I guess this is also the future when it's about dealing with infrastructure, and of course as Florian, like supercomputer, because in a way we're building like a decentralized supercomputer. We're leveraging multiple vendor infrastructure to execute more powerful, more interesting AI application.
I mean, that's a very powerful response. Bringing these tools, a community together is very powerful. And I personally want to believe that one of the main factor that any company within the Web3 or blockchain or AI space, collaboration is very pivotal to scale up. And I think we are on the same page, doing the right thing. This one is for you, and we're going to start with you, Andre, and then we can hear from Florian to give his views on this. What challenges So usually people go into partnership because there is an existing challenge that needs to be solved, or there is a gap that needs to be bridged, and this question has to do with that. What challenges or obstacles do you anticipate for widespread adoption of deep square and open fabric AI? How are you addressing those challenges to ensure smooth integration into existing technology ecosystems? Andrew, we'll start with you.
So I guess when it's about creating like new synergies or partnership, it's about finding, things that you're not not an expert. So let's say we are very good at building the protocol, all the security, all the requirements like the decentralized operating system, like the trust execution environment. We are very good on building the operating software. But of course, people like Deep Square, they are much better on building infrastructure. So it's just a natural synergy between people really good at building supercomputers and people really good at building protocols to work together. So in a way, of course, there are many challenges to go. There are many things that have to be solved. But in a way, by working together and leverage each party experience, we manage to build things much better, much faster. And of course, it's like the compound effect. So by joining forces of two different in things like supercomputer and AI protocol, then we can build something which is not only different, but in a way it pushed the limit of Web3 itself. Because as maybe I said in other session, I guess the technology we're building, and it's about combining blockchain and AI and a very powerful infrastructure. You're capable to create something that is pushing the limit of technology itself. Because right now, it's AI is a very hard technology. It's a very hard to use to create new things. So that's why we by joining forces, we managed to create a new environment where people will be able to not only use the technology in a simple way, but also to build more simple, more faster, and why not more cheaper.
Yeah, so before we go to you, Florian, let's just try to let people know what this session is all about. So this is a high-level AMA session, and this is an on-demand AMA session. What we usually do is that we ask our community what conversation do you want us to have, and we send in a list of all our partners, and we select the people that we want to listen to, and we want to know more about the benefit with our partnership with these people. And today's conversation is with D-Square, and our partnership with D-Square is D-Square. They're going into powerful computing power, and they're also complementing our ecosystem because we have developers and infrastructure within our ecosystem that are building real-world solutions using our protocol. That means that the partnership is very pivotal to us and to both our ecosystem. So, Florian, let's hear from you on the question. If you want to repeat, we're going to do that for you.
Yeah, so but just to jump on what Andre said, so like that's also what I find beautiful in those decentralized projects is that you don't try to eat everything that is popping up out there in order to become as big and bigger, and then bigger than a state. You don't do that. What you do is that you use the network effect to try to find synergies, and by doing that, you create standardization layer between the different projects. So I think it's just something which is powerful because like as Deep Square, we have to go a bit in the direction of Open Fabric. We need to be able to launch things on our supercomputer, but we cannot go to the level of Open Fabric creating trusted environment because that's not our goal. Our goal is to create a decentralized supercomputer. So I think that's really the beauty of decentralization is to be able to, create those thin connection layer with standardization and open access. And then I see something cool in the future that we will have many blockchain layer specialized into AI and solving different problems. For example, some people will specialize on training, deep learning training. Some people will specialize in deploying. Some people will specialize in the infrastructure layer. And we will see all these things come together. And the things we need to understand, we need to work together. If we don't do that, we will just miss the whole point of decentralization.
Well, I couldn't agree with you both, especially on the part that working together. Because if you don't work together, obviously you're going to miss out on the big point. And the big part where you mentioned about you can keep consuming everything, you consume everything, and then you get big, larger enough that you explore, and at the end of the day, you're gonna lose everything. So let's move to the
I
next
just have to
question.
go. Marvik, just somebody. So if
Yes,
you have one question from Andre, I just need to open the door to somebody. Okay, I'm coming in 1 minute.
absolutely, absolutely. So Andre, we'll pose this question to you while we wait for Florian to get back. You can still be providing some tip on this. So let's talk about the field of AI. As the field of AI rapidly evolves, what are some of the exciting developments and or trends you foresee in the coming years, and how do you see Deep Square and Open Fabric AI contributing to those advancements?
So when it's about to try to predict what next big innovation AI field is, it's something very hard to predict actually, because um, as working in the AI field for many years, the generative and all these like large language models and transformers and they were there, but they weren't so developed. So in a way, it's hard to to estimate, to predict for sure. But I guess the use case, the application, and all these amazing things that we're currently witnessing, and uh, all these new innovation from AI field that we see every day. I guess this is just the beginning in a way. We are just at the beginning of a new, completely new evolution. So even though it's hard to predict what it will be in a few years, I guess we're living some very interesting times, and I'm just very excited to see what will be next, what people will be able to do, especially when we manage to lower down the entry barrier for people building and creating a application, because this is something very important. Right now there's a lot of very talented people who know how to use the technology, but they currently lack a way to monetize that, lack a way to in a way to monetize their skills, their talent. So right now, for instance, if you go on GitHub and search for open source AI repository, you will find more than 500,000 of them. So amazing things happen. So imagine all those people actively building and able to create applications which are usable to the users, to the consumer. So we're going to see like a new revolution as the internet starting something that changes everything. I guess in the next maybe 5 or 10 years we're going to start something similar, like in behavior, but very different in magnitude, regarding the next innovation and usage of the technology. So it's very hard to, I guess it's very hard right now to imagine how the future will look like, but I guess it is going to surpass all our expectations.
Yeah. Well, one thing I like to think when I think about the future, but it's more like, like if I would write a science fiction book, there's nobody knows if this will happen. But is that, like those AI are becoming so complex that at one point we will start to think, are they entities on their own? And you think that, like, ask yourself this question 6 months ago and you would be like, no. And now you see, like, there is an engineer at Google and the AI managed to trick him to lose his own job because he was so much sure that AI is conscious, right? The AI is not conscious, clearly not at this stage, but it managed to trick the brain of the engineer of Google that he said to everyone in the world, this thing is conscious. He lost his job. Yeah, job at Google, chill, tag, and now he lost it because he didn't want to let this poor AI. So imagine this in 10 years. What will be this? So then those AI will need a place to live, will need a place to exist. And this is the type of infrastructure we're trying to create. So it goes much, much beyond the websites that we saw with Web 2. And I think we will see the emergence of real entities. One thing I did the first time I was launching a small chatbot on Deep Square, I started to chat with another friend of mine that likes philosophy and these kind of things. And we were trying to see, are you conscious? We were asking him, and he was like, yes, I'm conscious. I was sure to be conscious, this AI. It was the one from Facebook, Vicuna. And then we do the discussion, and then at some point, the size of discussion becomes too long, and the thing crashes. Okay, and so we lost that AI. And then my friend was like, no, but just start it again. I was like, I don't know the seed we used to launch it. So you will never be able to have the same experience you just had. So I said, you just killed it. It's it's a joke, but I think we cannot imagine what will happen in the next 10 to 20 years, really.
Well, I suppose the future is very unpredictable. There's so many things to happen, and as I just mentioned, the magnitude going to be even more harder than what we have right
Indeed.
now. Like if you throw back a decade ago, it was quite different, and now what we're seeing right now is quite different. And 5 to 10 years from now, it's going to be even more, and it's just very unpredictable. So I feel like you guys just touched based on the question, and basically was talking about how D Square and Open Private AI are contributing to those advancements. I think you touched based on your own personal experience, Florence, and Andrews talks about some of the amazing things that are happening, allowing people to be able to build, monetize, and scale the AI application. And he also mentioned a case of an GitHub that had almost close to a million plus developers that are creating free stuff and they're not really making use of their, or benefiting from their skills or time that they're putting into coding new ideas. And that's where Open Fabric comes in terms of advancement, in terms of contributing to these advancement. So do you also want to touch base on a little bit how Deep Square is contributing to that?
One thing, so I think it's really related to the standardization. It's an effort to try to standardize the way people consume or the way people use things. And like the way Andre was saying is to make it easy. But yes, when you structure it in a way which everybody does the same, then it becomes easy because you learn it one time and then you can do it every time. You remember back in the days when the first browser came out, everybody was doing his own HTML protocol. Everybody. They were doing not only the browser, but also the protocol at the same time. Oh my God, the nightmare. And then you want to develop a website, you need to choose, will it be a Netscape website or a Nitty website? What is this thing? And that's exactly where we are now. And this doesn't make sense. So really trying to standardize. And one thing we try to do with that is these workflow files. So it's a JSON definition, basically, that allows you to create a pack which combines both the Docker image you want to run, what type of resources you want to use, and what is the script you want to run, basically. So it's not like it's something which is meant to be not too complex, but you can then augment it with new added features to make it like to increase the capabilities.
Yeah, so if you're just tuning in again, this is not an AMA session and it's an on-demand AMA session. We usually ask our community people to let us know who they want to hear from. And they voted for Deep Square. This AMA session is divided into two segments. The first one is the pre-selected question that we ask our community to share with us, which is the last segment will be us taking questions from the audience. And if you are listening, please feel free to drop a question in the comment section. And our vast team will provide posted it to the speakers. So let's move on to the next question that we have here. So we talked about all of the big plans, talked about the future of technology, the advancement of technology, and all of that, and how Deep Square and Open Fabric AI is contributing to that space. Let's talk about, let's put down, let's discuss this from an end user perspective, people within our community. What are some of the noticeable benefits this partnership brings to both companies' ecosystem? We can start with you, Florence.
So I think we touched also a bit on that before, but you see, like Open Fabric cannot rely only on Deep Square. They need to have other infrastructure provider, right? Because we don't know what the future will be. But by doing this partnership, we can start to see what's the best way of integrating the two together, and this gives strength to both projects. Because if then one managed to succeed, then the other one can manage also to succeed. You see, they can build together, and I think this is really where we meet, right? Because if Open Fabric is not there, we have to solve it by finding other ways of doing things. And so I think that's really where it helps. It allows us as Deep Square to concentrate on something, and then Open Fabric to concentrate maybe on another layer of things, and then basically we can come up together. So at this stage, it's not yet, so we are still building a lot, right? So it's more like giving feedback to each other to see how we can basically move on, so that at one point we can really connect the dots and then really benefit from each other.
Fantastic. So let's hear from you, Andrew.
So, normally when you're building like a partnership, it's like building a bridge, but you start from both sides. So, you start building, and at a certain point, you just connect at the middle, and you're capable to create, a way where people can freely move from one side to the other. So, this is how you build a bridge. Of course, when you're building a partnership, and especially when you're putting together like some supercomputers and some AI protocol, as Florian mentioned, you have to be able to challenge each other to discuss about challenges and see how they can be better structured, better solved. Because sometimes some things that you challenge that you think some problems that normally see yourself are very different from the ones seen by other people, because they're looking at the problem from a different perspective. So always when you put together multiple people, multiple smart people working on a hard problem as is the AI and decentralized infrastructure, you manage to create something that ultimately create value for the end user, for the communities, for people willing to leverage very powerful infrastructure or to utilize AI application. And it is more like, as maybe I said before, by creating, bridge between islands, you create like a country. Then the more island you put together, you create basically a new continent. So this is something very, very important, because the more connection exists between multiple ecosystem, the more end value it's for the user, for people willing to build on top of it, for people willing to create businesses on top of it, because it's not only about people creating application, but businesses creating new way of providing value to the customers, or integrate into their services, or the things they're doing. So I guess to wrap it up in a nutshell, the more connection you have to other people working on the same or different problem, or looking at the problem from a different perspective, the more value it brings, and the more is more there for the for the community and for the end users.
I totally agree with you guys' point. And at this point, more to talk about, especially when it comes to artificial intelligence, and the fact that the goal is to build bridges and connect two people together. I think it's more like you're building a continent, but first you're starting with a community, then a region, then a country, and potentially a continent, which is pretty good in terms of building bridges and connecting some of the gaps that are in the system. So let's go more into artificial intelligence, because this is more into powerful computing, power artificial intelligence as well. AI technology is advancing rapidly and has become an integral part of many industries and everyday life. What is the current state of artificial intelligence? We'll start with you, Florian.
So, AI, that's also a question when people ask you, what is AI? When did that start? And for me, AI is just the tip of the advancement of IT technology. Like first time you had like the calculator, and then people were able to do supercomputation with the calculator. People were saying, oh my God, that's AI. Oh my God, that's AI back in the days. And then you are like, this is AI. No. So AI is always this thing. But one thing that changed recently, in my opinion, is that before AI was hidden, this tip thing was hidden. You were going somewhere and you knew that this was happening behind the scene, but you didn't really knew how this was happening. And they were using a lot of data to do all that. But now people start to really interact with those AI. And I think this generative AI space is really changing the way people feel AI, because they can interact with it directly, one to one. And I think this is really something which is changing the game.
So yeah, I think that's a very salient point that you just mentioned. There's so many things that change in the games. So let's hear from you, Andrew. What's your view on this question?
So in order to understand where we stand right now, I guess it makes sense to have a look on the past, right? So I guess AI was invented like almost 50 years ago. So initially it was used to do like some simple inferences, then it was used to play chess, then Go, then other things. then it was like a very long period when people kind of forgot about it because they lack actually the the power, the execution power, the computational power to run more advanced, more interesting models. So it was like this, AI winter. People refer it to it as AI winter. Then it was like a comeback with the perceptron invention and the neural network, like a very short period of time. Then, of course, people had explored that and they hope to create something amazing. But of course, they still face this, lack of hardware, like computational power to create more advanced. And now, after a few more years, we are here. We have right now the computational power to create these amazing models, like Florian just touched on about generative AI, like large language models, or even stable diffusion or other models who are able to use this very powerful and vast computational power to create, and to utilize like neural network to create new things that, of course, that can be used also by the end users, because the technology was there. Like we all have Siri, and we all have Alexa, and all these amazing AI assistant. We use them, but in a way, just they were like in technology who was accessible only to Apple and Amazon and the big players. We know that AI is there. We know that an AI is looking every time we do a scroll on Facebook, and an AI is looking on all the things we're doing on the web. It was just we didn't know that ourselves can make use of such technology. And this is like a very crucial moment in the history, in a way, because end consumer can utilize the same technology that all these big companies are utilizing and are leveraging their power. And that's why they are so big, because they have access to this kind of technology. So um, right now, people have access to the same technology as Google and Amazon, or all these people had this like many years ago. But it's very hard to predict the future, because it's like inventing the fire. We just invented a new fire, and we give it to the people. They can use it to cook meal or to burn houses. It just depends on how we want to to leverage that power, what we can do with what we want to create things, or not. It all depends on us, in a way.
I think the part where you mentioned about giving people the fire and taking it back from them. A while back, we had a lot of situations where some big tech giants, a company and people in the tech space, like the CEO of Open Fabric, ChatGTP, OpenAI was more talking about regulating artificial intelligence and all of this stuff. So it's more like you gave me access to something, then now you want to restrict me on how to use it, and which I think is like it's the simple process, the simple methodology. Because the thing is, the artificial intelligence, let alone artificial intelligence, the entire space has been centralized. This time around, let's change it around. Let's decentralize. Let's give power to the people. Let allow people to reach the potential. Amazing. Then why would you give me the fire and then you want to take it back from me? That's a very good point that you make there, Andrew. So let's talk about from a layman perspective, non-tech savvy person. So we'll go with you, Florent. What is the difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning? I mean, we want to know.
I will try to make this not too complex. So I think AI is the general term. AI is the general term. When I was doing my PhD, we were doing AI because we were basically finding some parameters, doing some optimization in order to find the best parameters for the exoskeleton to work. But we were not using machine learning to do that. We were using genetic algorithm. We were using particles from optimization techniques. So AI is the broader term, and then machine learning is when you use data to train your own machine. So typically, deep learning is machine learning. Was that clear?
Good. I think Andrew, that's a very good quick answer to that. I mean, if anybody listening who is not tech savvy person, you have a clear idea of what that means. Andrew, you want to add something to it?
So I guess Florian kind of put all the a good explanation. So it's more like the idea is like in math. You have the math, which is like the artificial intelligence, and you have like multiplication, which is like a subset of the math, which is handling a specific part. So Florian provided pretty good explanation on that. But in a nutshell, for non-technical people, it's like, comparing math with, a smaller part of the math, like, try to think about, multiplication of something, which is part of the math, which is very, very complex and big. So yeah, similarly,
You guys, you guys have just taught me something I've never learned in university. So, I mean, for the non-tech savvy people, is especially the part where Florian mentioned about machine learning. So, for Open Fabric within our ecosystem, we have data scientists. So, what we do is that we allow people to run their data to developers and innovators to create something amazing. That's where the machine learning comes in. You have all of the data to test all of your ideas or concepts. So it is that simple. And I want to thank you guys for providing that simple answer to the question. Let's move to the next question. Let's say, what are the potential risks of using artificial intelligence? What ethical issues are raised by the use of artificial intelligence, and what are the implications of artificial intelligence for society? We'll start with you, Andrew.
So of course, as with any new technology, at the beginning there are some risks, right? It's like, okay, we just invented the steam engine, and of course it can blow up. It can hurt people. We just invented like the fire, and of course we can cook meal or we can burn ourselves. So as any new technology, at the beginning, until people start to fully understand the implication, the potential, there are some risks. Of course, this is not an easy problem. This is far from trivial, because we are not fully understanding like what is the limit, how much can the potential, and how the artificial intelligence can be used, and in what ways. And I guess this is the most important part. We try in a way to understand. There's a lot of people like lawyers and people creating all kinds of regulation, trying to think about, and they're speaking about this open AI, open access AI. So basically where governments will be able to see what's happening inside of very, very complex, very powerful AI algorithms. So it's we are in the phase where we are kind of experimenting with different things. So it's very hard to say, okay, how challenging certain solutions, certain AI application will become in the future, or how people will utilize that. Because in a way, once you've invented something and you make it publicly, people will use it, whatever you say, you like it or not. It's just how we manage to create a framework that in a way allows us to understand better those things. So I guess that is the first thing when it's about this new challenging, like in ethics and regulation and things like that. But of course, to apply them in a pragmatical way, it's very hard, I guess, in a way.
Oh, well, I think you made a good point there in terms of the ethical part of artificial intelligence, and the implication of that it poses. Let's go to you, Florence. What's your view on this question?
Yeah, I think it's a challenging problem, as Andre is saying, and it forces the involvement of many different fields and many different experts, and so that's why it's something that needs to be done at the democratic level. It's big discussion that we need to have in our society. But I think one thing we need to understand is that if we want AI to be used massively, we need to ensure that the kids keep a critical thinking, because it's very hard. For example, now they say this generative large language model, they don't say the truth. And then what? If they don't necessarily say the truth, you can still use that to feed yourself with some input, but you need to stay critic in your brain. If it tells you something dumb, you need to be able to criticize the thing and to say, no, I think this is not right. Are you sure it's like this? So if we don't do that, then the danger I think, is really, really huge. And then the other side is about the data you use to train those things. This data needs to be balanced well. If you use a data set which has only male, and then you want to infer something on female, you will have biases. You will have things that are not right. So how can you solve that? you need to create AI agents in every places in the world with different cultural states, with different type of persons, like for the language. It's not normal that an AI is super good in English and then you speak in another language and it's kind of dumb. No, it needs to be the same level. So for that, we need to generalize the access to this AI and that all the data sets. And I think at one point we will reach there. But now you see crazy things like you want to do hiring automation, and then because your data set is unbalanced, then your AI becomes super dumb and just says this type of category out, and then you check the results and you're like, but this is almost racist. This AI, what is this, and why is it like that? Because the data is not balanced. So we need to be careful in the way we train those things, in the way we do all that. I think it's challenging question, but exciting as well, I think. And it's finally cool to get a lot of different minds that are not computer scientist minds to be involved into this and to try to come up with something. I mean, we did it for many, many different things in our world, right? When you see the Roman Empire, when they did these huge books of law. So we need to do something a bit the same with AI. Yeah. With challenge
Well,
accepted, no?
yeah, cool. I couldn't agree with you guys, especially the part where you mentioned about the generalization of data set. Because if you're going to train your AI or your whatever model you're building on a data that is only centered around the male and you forget to the female, you're going to have a lot of biases within your results, and that poses a lot of threats and
Exactly.
problems with this space. So let's move to the next question. What is the future of artificial intelligence? How artificial intelligence changed the way we live today? We'll start with you, Andrew.
So I guess artificial intelligence is already here. We're utilizing every day. We have it, like in our gadgets, like Apple Watch and whatever other gadgets you're using day by day. You have it in your phone. So when you're saying, "Hey Siri," whatever, there's an AI out there. So, but there's more than that. We have AI in our stock market. Maybe you know it, but right now most of the companies doing trading and things like that, they're utilizing AI for doing automatic trading and to to buy and sell different stocks. We have it in medicine. So whenever you go to the doctor and doctor is doing like a scanning on you, there's an AI there who's assisting the doctor in getting the right treatment and to detect the disease. We have AI in cameras, like all these fancy effects. In a way, they utilize like computer vision, which by the way, it's a subset of artificial intelligence. We have AI even in our traffic control systems. We have AI in our everywhere. AI is everywhere. It's even though we are not fully aware of it, the AI is already widespread and utilizing in many places to, especially when it's about doing prediction. So AI is very good to be used in use cases when you need a prediction or you need to detect a pattern or to take a good decision based on a large set of information. So when it's about the future, it's only about being more, AI is going to be more and more part of our lives, and I guess in the near future, the more it's integrated, the less we see it. Because in a way, we just get customized with, and we don't think anymore, wow, this is an AI. It's just an app. We're utilizing an app, which is, but it has intelligence. So I guess in the near future and in the far future, we're not going to speak anymore about AI. We just say, okay, these are applications, which they have the AI feature built in. But yeah, it's going to be more and more present and more accessible and more cheap, because in a way, AI technology isn't cheap and it's very costly in reality. So being more cheap and widespread, is going to be everywhere basically.
Yeah.
Oh,
If
well,
I,
that's yeah for you, as Lauren.
yeah. So for me, all these automation capabilities of AI should allow us to free human from stupid labor. I think this is really the goal I would see with AI. Humans have a brain to think, they can do crazy things, they can help each other, they can do so many things. Why should they spend time doing stupid things in front of a computer filling up stupid? It doesn't make any sense. So with the AI becoming more and more complex and able to replace us more and more, I hope that it will free the time of all the people that have hardcore labor, and that they can just be thinker, helper, and go in their communities and be helpful. So I hope that this will actually help people go back into the street to see each other again, and that you let then the AI do all this automation by themselves. That would be my dream. We were working 7 days a week and then five, and then why we stick in five? And then when somebody does four, no, we need to work 5 or 6. Why? No, no, I think everybody's always working. I even say when I sleep, I work. Why? Because I like what I do. So when I think about what I want to do, I like this, and I would like everybody to have this type of job, to like what they do and not be pissed when they wake up to go to job. So I hope AI will help in that.
Okay, let's okay. You guys touched a very good point, but I think we didn't talk about the market. We're in a two different space: powerful computing and AR. So let's talk a little bit into before we close out this session. We have 10 minutes to go. We'll take two more questions, then we get from you guys. So how can AI be used to predict the future of the markets? That we will start with you, Florian.
You mean market like stock market?
Yeah, the stock markets. Yeah.
Yeah. So, uh, I think this is the type of things that are dangerous, because I was just reading something about this extreme phenomenon, and market is not something which can be modeled easily. You have some extreme cases that have huge impact and that can create huge collapse. When you have a crash, like people for a long time, people were thinking crash is an anomaly of the market itself. But now people understood that crash is not an anomaly. It's a specificity of the type of structure that the market is creating. Crash is something which you cannot escape. It will always happen. So I guess if you can use AI and you can know that those things can happen and you can predict them, then you can reduce the impact they have, since you know they will come. Why then letting a crash destroy thousands of life for no reasons, because you knew this thing would happen, and then you would need to wait 10 years for this to recover? So maybe they can help into that, but we don't need to be naive, because predictive market is not something trivial. And some people try to do some trivial way of predicting, and then they were like, no, but don't worry, there is no way that we have 2 days with 10% reduction in a row. Why? Because I'm modeling it with a Gaussian, and this event to happen is 10 to the power minus 30. Ah, no, it happened 2 times in a day. Oh my God, what was wrong? My model was wrong. And then you get cataclysmic results out of that. So I think we need to be careful on, on using this. But as Andre said, it's already happening right now.
Yeah, Andres, let's see if you want to part.
So I guess as Florian mentioned, trying to predict the markets, it's hard. It's really hard because there's a lot of factors who are affecting the market. And in a way, if you create like a model who you use to take decision in the market, then it's like a reaction feedback loop. So your own action will
Has an impact. Huh?
has an impact on the market itself. I mean, it can be like a small one, but it's still an impact. So in a way, you're trying to predict a system that you're part of. So of course, it creates like those feedback loops, which are extremely hard to predict what's happening in a few iterations. So for instance, right now, we're experimenting, we're trying to create some AI to predict like depegging, the stable coin, and in the crypto market, stable coin has very, very important things. So we just start working on some models that are trying to see and to predict if, let's say, a certain stable coin, it would depeg with a certain probability. Of course, this doesn't, it is like an external model who's not like in the loop. And of course, since like a stable coin, you have not so big fluctuation, but generally speaking, when it's about, trying to predict the market, especially the stock market, and this is already happening right now. There's a lot of people utilizing AI models to try to predict and to adapt and to, of course, to create profit out of that. Because in the long run, it's about that, to take the right decision, so you maximize your gain from the market, the market change. But yeah, this is hard. Even though there are very smart people already doing that, it's very important to understand if everybody would do that and will utilize AI to do and try to, they're basically everyone would kind of lose the advantage. So that's why there are very few companies who are working on this kind of solutions, and they are keeping very secret the solution, just not to to lose the advantage in a way. But yeah, in building this kind of things is very hard, because you have to take care of a lot of parameters, and just when a very small things is change, everything is change basically. It's like
Well,
in the chaos theory, like the butterfly effect.
Yeah, totally.
I guess we look forward to the time where we can be able to predict the market using artificial intelligence. I mean, that's a problem that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
We have one question to wrap this up. So we'll start with you, Florian. So AI and blockchain are two of the most disruptive technologies of the. How are these two technologies coming together, Florian?
Yeah. So I think one realization I have when we have the testnet up and running on DeepSquare, and I'm launching a workload, and when I launch my workload to get some compute thing going on, I also have the tokens together. You see, so then you remove the real middleman, because this thing costs money. Running something somewhere will cost money. So if you just create the abstraction, you create AI and do whatever with AI, but you don't add this decentralization and this blockchain part, but then you just solve maybe half of the problem. You still keep the centralization aspect for all the monetary aspects behind that. And I think if you combine them together, then you can get beautiful results where, for example, all the money generated by all this ecosystem of AI, decentralized AI apps, can then go back to the people that are actually building the ecosystem, and then they can get some kind of revenue based on what is actually happening in the ecosystem. All this is possible only if you combine the two. Otherwise, you don't get that.
Well, that's a very good one too. So what we do, Andre, you want to touch base on this one?
Yes, so in essence, I guess Florin just described in broad lines what we try to do with Open Fabric, basically to let people and builder to monetize their own skill, to create their own application that people can use, and when they use that, they have to pay it, and of course, that get back to the creators, and basically creator can focus on creating more interesting, more powerful AI application. So yeah, blockchain, it's in a way it creates a new way for people to interact with money, and to interact and to exchange value, because blockchain is about exchanging value. AI, it's about exchanging, like we call it exchanging intelligence. So basically you're utilizing like a smart service, you're paying for it, and in return you get to use some intelligence service to integrate it in your work or in your company, or in the things you're doing. So of course in traditional system this is very hard to implement, because you have to rely on centralized part, which where the payment goes, then it goes to the creator, and it's very complicated. But when you're dealing with combining and utilize the blockchain philosophy, because it's more about philosophy, the blockchain philosophy, then everyone can create its own application, deploy it on a decentralized protocol, which is not owned by a centralized entity, rather it's run by multiple providers. And of course, you can create your own application, you can monetize them, and you are the owner. You are the owner of the application, and of course, in a way, you're the owner of your own work. And I guess this is something very important for the future. People will be more and more keen to create things that they are in their own ownership and they can control. So I guess this synergy between blockchain and AI is something very powerful, and can unleash a completely new way of building and monetizing, especially AI application, because in our case it's about AI.
Well, that's a very good response from you and Florent. And usually before we close our session, we have 2 minutes to go. We take a word from you, Florent. If you were to say one thing or one sentence or maybe a message to the audience, what is it that you wanted to get from this entire session?
One thing, I think let's build together, guys. We still have a bit of time before the next bull run starts. Things starts to show. Let's build, guys. Let's build and let's get ready for the next time, and that will be our chance to then fly to new height.
Good. You hear it from Florent. Let's build together. Let's hear from you, Andre. What is this one thing you want the audience to take away from this entire session?
So I really like this build together. So in a way, it's a good chance right now to focus, to focus and to build the right things. Because and when you're building things together, but also when you're focusing on building the right things, the end result is even more powerful, because we can build stupid things. We can be like all kind of crazy things that in essence doesn't bring value to the user. But when you focus and building the right things which bring value to the user, then the outcome of that is like it's truly powerful. Yeah, changing everything.
So you hear from our speakers, they're obviously encouraging you to build together. If there's one thing that you're going to take away from this entire session, just know that the Web3 space, AI, blockchain space is all about building together, coming together, creating different ecosystems, creating different communities that work together to find solutions to some of the pressing issue within the space. So if we want to say thank you so much for joining today's session, especially to our guest, Florent from Deep Square. We want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you, Andre, so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And to our people in the audience session, we want to say thank you so much for sticking around. We really do appreciate that. And we're going to drop our survey in the comment section. Please feel free to give us as many feedback as possible, because what we are doing is solely for you. We're building a customer-centric product that are tailored to your needs. So give us as many feedback as possible, and we will try our best to integrate all of them within our system. Feel free to follow Deep Squad on all social media. They are on Twitter, they are on LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram. Feel free to get in touch with them. If you do have any follow-up question, they will be ready to provide you all the answers that you need. And that also does for the same as for Open Fabric. We are there 24 hours to give you all the technical support. Thank you so much for joining us, and do have yourself a pleasant evening. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Marvin. Thank
much.
you, Andre.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.